Redditors, what's the worst thing your mom caught you doing as a kid? So when I was really little, maybe around 5, I used to take pieces of chalk and stick them in my butt crack. After a while, the chalk would start to sting, and for some reason I liked it. One day, I lodged a good 3 pieces in between my cheeks, and went about my daily activities. At some point while playing I broke a vase, and since my dad wasn't home, my mom decided to give me a little spanking. She pulled down my pants, bent me over her knee, gave me a tender wallop on the rear. I braced for the second impact, but it never came. I looked around to see my mom staring at the ground, where 2 of my butt chalks had landed. Eventually I got up and ran to my room, as my mom continued to sit motionless for a number of minutes. I never heard anything about it after that, but I stopped the strange practice. Butt chalks, it just rolls off the tongue. When I was about 6 I had been exposed to pornography for the first time. I quickly went over to my best friend's house where we built a fort out of chairs and sheets and proceeded to gangbang a big stuffed alligator with our 6-year-old junk out and everything. His mom walked in on this and gave us the talk. My mum caught me eating out my girlfriend in the backyard once. She said, "What are you doing?" And my witty comeback was, "I'm allowed." I can't tell if you were actually outside, or if backyard is just a euphemism. Between the ages of 6 and 10 I constantly peed in the hole I kicked in the fence in the backyard. We lived in a really densely populated neighborhood too. No matter how many times she would go crazy when she caught me, there I was a day later peeing in the backyard with my Asian neighbors banging on their windows. They really wanted to stop me. They couldn't stop me. Nobody could. I can just hear the nostalgia in your voice, especially during that last sentence. They couldn't stop me. Nobody could. I was about 17 and about to have sex with my girlfriend for the first time, so I got a bunch of condoms from the sex ed woman at college. I took those bastards home and thought I ought to practice putting one on. So I did. I stuck that sucker on, real smooth like, and felt pretty chipper. Then I remembered condoms are pretty funny when they're blown up. So I took it off my dong and blew it up and had a good laugh. Then I thought, hey, this'd be pretty funny if I stuck it on my dong. So I did, and had really good laugh about it. Hear a knock. Think I've got a second. I haven't. The door's already opening. I'm still sat there, trousers down, boner out, with a huge blown up condom on my dong. My mum walks in, looks at me, walks out, shuts door. I have never known speechlessness, but let me tell you, when your mum catches you with your dong out and a balloon on it, crap, there isn't a freaking thing you can think of that will get you out of that place. Nothing you were practicing for, innocently experimenting with. Nothing. I don't think we will ever breach that topic. Maybe you two should talk. You don't want her thinking you have a freakishly giant balloon dong. Didn't happen to me, but my cousin found her 7-year-old daughter shoving pearls from a broken necklace up her vagina. The worst part, she kept the pearls and had them restrung to give to her daughter when she turned 16 to embarrass her for life. I set off a D-engine model rocket in my room. It hit the ceiling in 0.2 seconds, skidded along the wall leaving a scorch mark, fell in the corner and exploded, igniting a pile of books. After 10 seconds of silence after I beat out the flames, all the fire alarms in the house went off simultaneously. My mother didn't so much catch me as hear it all from a very great distance away. I was butt naked jacking off for the first time in my living room. It was a crappy VHSP and my mom decided to come home a lot earlier. I literally didn't masturbate until college. I was in my room after I showered and took off my towel. Me standing there naked found that my nuts were a bit itchy. How might I fix this problem? I looked to the ground and found a Lego. I pulled out my sack and began to scratch my nut with the corner of the Lego. All of a sudden my mom burst in and stands staring at me butt naked scratching my nut with a Lego. "Okay," she said and walked out. My mom caught me playing Dungeons and Dragons once. Granted, it was more the fashion in which I was playing that made it the worst situation. I was a 10-year-old wood elf archmage, wielding the wand that I found under mommy's bed. Wood elf is right. Using the Fisher-Price pirate ship to shoot cannonballs at my regular balls. Still not sure what I was trying to get out of all that. My best friend and I were exploring each other when we were about 15 or 16. After 2 hours of feeling each other up, intense making out and much finger usage, we decided to get crafty with a cucumber and a large carrot. Both of us are female for your information. Because of the moaning we couldn't hear my mother's car pull into the driveway, nor did we notice her after she opened my bedroom door until she screamed at the highest pitch womanly possible. God did not create vegetables to be used in that way. She apparently didn't know a cucumber is a fruit. Needless to say, both carrots and cucumbers were banned in my house for the rest of my teenage years. I got so turned on after reading this, I had to open a new tab and search for lesbians using fruit and vegetables. My mom once caught me trying to open an aerosol can. I had a can of that spray on hair color from Halloween and I wanted to know what was inside, what was making it rattle, and what did the inside of the can look like. First I was trying to crush it with a vice grip, then I moved on to smashing it with a hammer. She opened my door to see what the noise was. Obviously she flipped out. It wasn't the only time trying to take things apart almost killed me. It wouldn't have killed you, but made an enormous mess. In high school, I developed a habit of spanking it when I couldn't easily fall asleep. The problem is, you're trying to lull yourself asleep, so I didn't want to get up to get tissues or dirty underwear or what have you, to aid in cleanup. So I ended up wiping my spunky hands on the bed skirt. Gross. I know. Now, my bed was kind of in a corner, so I'd usually wipe my hands off in the far corner against the wall. I did this for years probably. One day my mom decides that she's never thought to take the bed skirt off and give it a wash. It was high time to do something about that. I was at school at the time, powerless to stop her or know her plans. At this point about half of the bed skirt was yellowed and crusty as heck. I don't know if it was the texture, or the smell I imagine it emitted, or if my mom just really knows her way around dried up old jizz. But she knew exactly what I'd been up to. When I came home from school, I got a lecture. It was the most awkward moment of my life up to that point, especially when she tried to brace it by letting me know it's perfectly normal to do that. Thanks ma, but for God's sake, use a tissue. Then one time I was being babysat by an old woman from my apartment. I must have just discovered the pleasures of stimulating myself, but I hadn't yet been introduced to the hand technique, so what did I do? I used to hump things. So I turn on some black TV channel and a shocked babysitter asks if my mom lets me view these types of things. I say of course and continue watching. Then I take my dong out and begin grinding on the big bed right in front of her. I'll never know if she told my mom. When I was about 5 years old, I was playing alone in my room when I happened upon a yogurt cup that had been washed out and cleaned so I could have a place to put my seashells. Something came over me. I can't tell you why, but my 5-year-old brain demanded that I empty out the shells, whip out my 5-year-old pecker, and take a nice long pee in the cup. As soon as I finished relieving myself, it hit me that I was stuck with a Yoplait cup filled to the brim with my fresh, warm urine. What was I to do with this treasure? Hide it in the back of my closet, of course. A week later my mom found a yogurt cup with week old, partially evaporated urine that for some reason had become a little frothy. Not sure what it was. She took a whiff, figured it out, dumped the remainder down the toilet, and disposed of the cup. When confronting me, she simply said, "I found that cup in the back of your closet. Why did you pee in it?" I simply shrugged, and oddly enough, that was a good enough answer for her. I hope she forgot. 5-year-old logic is incredible. I was 8 or 9 and my mom caught me giving oral to my size Barbie. She told me that was disgusting and to not do it again. Nothing else happened. I'm a straight 21-year-old chick now. See, don't do that again helped. I ran away from home when I was 14ish. But I was a paper boy at the time and ditched my satchel full of newspapers in the woods. When I didn't come home, folks called the cops. A search turned up my bag in the woods, and it was assumed that I had been kidnapped. It was ugly. Went home a couple days later to a fiasco in the house. Weird combination of emotions at home for quite some time after that. Probably the worst thing I have done to anyone in my entire life. I now realize, oh yeah, I now have kids, so I know exactly how they feel. Karma is circular. I tried running away once. I remember 3 hours in I had to crap so badly that I ran home like I had a carrot up my butt. Mom won that battle. Zipping my little brother into a plastic bag. One of those clear ones that blankets are sold in. She caught me trying on her clothes and underwear. Huge WTF moment. Im state, but was a curious boy. Weird as boner that one. Your username suggests you shouldn't have been so easily caught. Well, my mom caught me masturbating and gave me the lecture, but my dad, my girlfriend and I were hanging out one time and talking about cheating, and we're both relatively deranged. So one thing led to another and she jokingly threatened to cut off my penis. So I one-upped her and told her that she should. She then found scissors and continued the joke. I then pulled down my pants in front of her, because this course of strange sick jokes was actually leading sex. Hopefully not involving the scissors. So, I with my pants down, in front of my girlfriend, telling her to cut off my dong. See my dad walk right down the stairs into the basement living room. I yanked my pants up. My dad went into the storage room and left. He saw the whole thing. He didn't say a word, ever. Playing with, and eating my own crap as a toddler, and reveling in it, with a giant, pun intended, crap eating grin on my face. That was the first time I ever got slapped. Sure wasn't the last. I was very hyper as a kid. Nowadays they would give me Ritalin. Those days I got slapped. You might win the worse than masturbation prize with this one. Playing with Lego as a kid. My brother and I used to build vast armies of Lego soldiers, war machines, fighters, tanks, etc. Everything was a war, with lasers, bombs, etc. Well, one day little young me decides that there has to be a better way. I think, why go to the trouble of having my army fight the opposing force? Why not just round them all up and dispose of them in some organized fashion? So I took one of those little Lego platforms and built a facility on it. It had a wall around it, some area where newly arriving enemy troops would be killed, and then their bodies hauled off to be vaporized with lasers. It even had a little booth where the tiny Lego guy operating the machinery could stand. As I was building it, for some reason my older brother thought it was a bad idea. I proudly said I was going to show it to our mom, and he really thought that was a bad idea. I ran out the door anyway. I found her and proudly explained the workings of my new creation. She was, shall we say, less than pleased. Once she saw what it was, she immediately yelled at me, grounded me, and smashed the creation into 100 pieces. TLDR. Created a death camp out of Lego and showed my mom. FML. Hey, people like this end up military tacticians. I was 17 and on house arrest, and hated not being able to go out and party with my friends. One depressed night, I had a friend sneak a fifth of gin to me in my bedroom, while my mom was in the living room watching TV. I mixed the gin with Kool-Aid, but halfway through, didn't think I was drunk. So I made myself take 8 straight chugs of the bottle, which finished it off. Blackout. My mom woke me up in the morning. I found that I was sitting upright against the head of my bed, fully clothed minus jeans, with a half-eaten bologna sandwich in one hand. The bread had hardened overnight and it kind of stuck to my hand. The entire bed severely reeked of cucumber melon lotion. I tried to play it off like, oh, hey, good morning, no response. When I was young I was really into art, so much so that I took art classes outside of school. I went to this one class with a woman who kept a giant library of reference materials, magazines, books, etc. She allowed us to use them however we liked, including taking them home to do further work with. One time I was browsing through the collection and found a Playgirl magazine. In my 16-year-old head I thought it would be hilarious to take it home and then at a later date stick it unknowingly into a friend's dresser drawer or something. Then pull it out in front of all our friends and say, what the frick is this? Well, it never got that far because my mom found it first. That was awkward. 3 or 4 years old, playing barbershop in my room with a little girl my age from the neighborhood. She had plastic scissors, I had real scissors and had destroyed her hair. Actually that was one of many bad stories of getting caught with her. Go on. When I was about 12, my friend and I, both boys, had a routine of picking up guys on the internet. Basically, we'd go into a chat room claiming to be a cute, perky 19-year-old and find a guy in our area. We'd send him a picture of us that we'd pull from Hot or Not and talk super seductively. Eventually we'd give him our number and we'd talk on the phone with him and suggest he come over. And we'd ask him to pick up a pizza or something. When he'd arrive, we'd have one of us standing on the balcony with water balloons, usually filled with something besides water, and the other one of us would answer the door. The guy answering the door would pull it open, grab the pizza and slam it shut. Meanwhile, while the guy stood there dumbfounded realizing he'd just gotten conned out of a pizza by some kid, he'd start getting pelted with all kinds of crap. In retrospect, this was pretty mean to them. This usually worked fine until one occasion when the guy apparently didn't appreciate getting mayonnaise dumped on his car and actually called my friend's parents the next day. Using the house phone may not have been the best idea, but we really didn't have any other options. I remember hearing my friend's dad on the phone screaming, "You came over to try to sleep with my prepubescent son? What the sick fuck are you anyway?" While he was PS heck at the creep, he did get furious at us too and told my parents. Wasn't allowed to hang out with that friend for like a year after that. In retrospect, those guys must have been pretty freaking frisky to believe what we were saying. I mean, we were like 12. I guess a stiffy really impairs your judgment. TLDR. At age 12, seduced guys in order to get pizza. Oh my god, you as a 12-year-old was an evil genius. No way in heck could I have pulled something like that off. When I was 12 I downloaded a SVCDP Terapatrick is a filthy W. Like the pro that I am, I kept it in bin format and used a tool like Ultracal to mount it, then watch it using a DVD player. One day I forget to unmount the drive. My mom sees weird icon picture in my computer, double clicks on it, sees said porno. She shows my dad. I was playing SNES in my room, got called in their room with the PC, yelling, crying all the fucked up crap. As I am leaving the room I hear my dad say to my mom, "At least he found a nice Indian looking girl instead of white." Yes, you made your dad dang proud. Don't you forget that. I clipped a clip-on boatie to my penis. Lem back up. When I was a child, starting around 6, I would volunteer usher at a classic older theater for concerts, plays, comedy, magic, movies, etc. It was something we all did as a family. Really fun. The patrons got a kick out of the towhead in the dress clothes, and I got to see David Copperfield, Zappa, Cats, all kinds of great stuff. And I got a sense of independence by getting to be off on my own and having some responsibilities. I can't explain this, but early on in doing this, I became obsessed with clipping the boatie from my usher outfit on things. Books, LPs, the cat. Nothing was sacred. It wasn't too long until the boatie went on my penis. The pain was excruciating, and what was worst was that I couldn't manage to get that alligator-toothed bastard open again. I don't know if it was from the clumsiness of childish hands or being paralyzed by pain, but my only recourse was to call for my mother for assistance. We've obviously never spoken of this since, but my debt to her for 20 hours of labor pales in comparison to being the Daniel to my Lion. One of my HS girlfriends would come to my house every morning to have breakfast with me. Sometimes, she'd come over early enough where I was still asleep and wake me up with sexy time. Well, one morning she woke me up with via blowjob with her head under the covers. I'm laying there having a good time and my mom just walks on in my room without knocking. She just stands there by the door and watches for a good 10 seconds with her mouth wide open and then slowly backs out the door and closes it. My GF was absolutely clueless. We finished up, had breakfast with my mom and then hopped in the car and drove to school. I told her what happened on the way and she straight up freaked out. She kept asking why I didn't make her stop or why I was still hard the entire time. She wound up convincing herself I enjoyed my mother watching, which wasn't the case. I was freaking 15 years old. I got home and had the talk with my mother and father. After about an hour of silence, during the talk, my dad just shut my mom up and said, "If he's getting head almost every morning, meters from where we sleep, I'm sure he understands how the birds and the bees work." Anyhow, yeah, that was the last time I got a morning visit from my newly ex-girlfriend. Real tear. I printed out a simpy on a dot matrix printer in 1988 and hid it under my mattress. When she found it, I think the acai-like quality actually made it harder to explain. I also used Reddit to disable save and quit in Quicken on her Mac SE. Once the local computer store figured out what I did, I was in serious trouble. I feel old. I have no freaking clue what I just read. My mom had a devious strategy of giving false estimates of how long she would be out of the house. She was also quick to ban anyone from the house if she didn't care for them. This became incredibly frustrating in my early teens when every time I tried to sneak a girl home it would result in her being banned from the house. I can just imagine your mom going, "I banish thee to all the girlfriends you've ever had. Maybe fuss rodating them too." I was caught scratching my thigh in bed with my pants down when I was 11 or so. I wonder if mom ever figured that one out. She did. When I was about 5 years old, I lived across the street from another kid 11 months to the day younger than I am. Our parents were hanging out one night in the kitchen and suddenly noticed that we weren't in the room or making noise anymore. When they walked in the living room, I was on top of him with a pillow over his face. He stopped struggling about the time they walked in on us. I think I had seen someone doing this on TV. Making my beanie babies frick each other. Mum didn't even just know about it there. She actually walked up and demanded I tell her what they all were doing. Awkward. I did that with Barbies when I was little. When I was around 10 years old, I have a vivid memory of being in the bath after the water had run out and enjoying sliding around the bottom of the tub. I would sit up one end and then push myself to the other with my feet and enjoy the exhilarating pace of sliding to the other end. Now I was probably on my 5th or 6th slide when I looked down in horror to realize that not only have I not actually cleaned my ass while washing, but from the looks of the giant smear across the bottom of the bath, that I didn't even bother to wipe. Not a massive deal. I figured I will just get the toilet paper and clean it up. No sooner am I one leg out of the bath, my dad walks in on me butt naked reaching for the toilet paper. I would pay good money to be able to see the look on my face with the crap smeared bath behind me. He flipped and then shouted at me the whole time he cleaned and disinfected the bath. I did the swishing thing too when I was little. Water all over the floor. Mom was pee. It was my dad, not my mom. 5-year-old me discovered his stash of Playboy magazines, unfolded each of them and literally covered the entire bedroom with centerfolds, bed, dresser, floor, etc. I was standing there pondering my magnificent creation when he walked in. "Dad, what are you doing, little Ajnan?" Me, trying to figure out which one looks like mommy. Dad, with arched eyebrow, "Trust me, son, none of them look like mommy." Like many, as a middle school student I was obsessed with RuneScape. One morning after a late night questing sesh I decided to masturbate. I was going at it, and my mother walked in. She took one look, gasped, and asked if I was watching P. I jumped up, explained it was RuneScape, and proceeded to make sure my character was safe and logged out before I gave her the laptop. I'm completely naked with a boner throughout this. She left. I finished. TL. Dr. Mom caught me jacking it playing RuneScape. I took time to log out. TLDR. She caught me jerking it in a Target fitting room. When I was a youngin', maybe 12-13, I was the typical frisky adolescent boy. Mother took me clothes shopping to Target, where I was begrudgingly dragged around the store to look at jeans, shirts, whatever. After a while I had enough to try on and headed to the fitting rooms. Well, young me got undressed to try my new togs in front of the mirror, and for some unknown reason I thought I looked pretty good naked. Got a hard on and started ripping the ears of it, down on my knees as I started getting close to the gravy stroke. About this time, my mother, bless her cotton socks, decided to barge in and see how the clothes looked. What she saw was her son, completely naked on his knees, staring at himself in the mirror and blasting a huge wad of jizz on the shiny surface. She caught my eye in the reflection and I froze, not knowing what to do. She backed away slowly, closed the curtain and wouldn't look at me for the rest of the week. On the plus side, I was just given vouchers from that day on so that I could do my own shopping. So it wasn't my mom that caught this, but I had a crush on a friend of mine, a real cutie, and I asked him to spank me. Who knows why the idea popped into my head. So picture it, he's 15 and shirtless on the couch and I am 16, pink in the face and absolutely being spanked. Most awkward climbing off of someone ever. His mom didn't like me even before this, and I should mention she handed me a rosary as I left. Sweet. Free anal beads. Eating, or attempting to, anyway, glitter. She screamed and called poison control. Maybe not the worst from my point of view, but definitely the worst from hers. That would be a fun poop. About to drink my pee when I was like 4. IDK, why the heck I wanted to drink it. I peed into my bathroom cup that I used to rinse my mouth when brushing my teeth. She also caught me drinking water from the bathroom faucet when something was wrong with our city tap water. There were all these news stations talking about it and warning people not to drink it for a while, and I watched them and it made me really want to do it. About to drink my pee when I was like 4. Best opening line I've read in a while. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.